following program is a production of The Bob and John Show. Any similarity between person and places is strictly a coincidence. The producers of this program are solely responsible for its content.
It's now time for the Sudsy Wudsy Show, brought to you by Sudsy Wudsy. Sudsy Wudsy. It's an all-purpose cleaner. It's a car wash. It's a bubble bath. Yes, it's Sudsy Wudsy. Sudsy Wudsy now proudly presents The Adventures of Jimmy Ballpoint, Private Investigator. Ear, eyes, and nose. The complete package. Jimmy Ballpoint.
This is where I work, the city. It used to be a nice place with nice people. But like everything else, they left. And now the city is a dark and gritty city with dark and gritty sidewalks, with dark and gritty taxis. Downright depressing if it wasn't for the gum stuck under the tables at the automat. I'm Jimmy Ballpoint, private investigator. Ear, eye, and nose, the complete package. My office is up 3 flights of stairs, straight up, right above a flop house. A little office with a desk, chair, sink, and a couch. Like I said, a dark and gritty place. But it's just right for a guy like me. The case that I'm working on now is the case of Hubba-Hubba LaRue. This place gives me the creeps. Ben and I used to do the stick beat down here when I was on the force. The shadows in the fog can play tricks on a guy, especially during the early morning hours. I got a tip that Peekaboo Riley had some information for me. Information that was important on a job I was on. The job was about Hubba-Hubba LaRue, a local socialite who went missing last week. The dame was in line to inherit the glitzy hotel with a lot of real estate and a bankroll to boot. Old man Glitzy wasn't doing so hot. Hubba-Hubba LaRue went off the charts once before. Then, my old partner from the force found her in the basement of the federal building, licking stamps. The doll has this thing about stamps. Finding Hubba-Hubba LaRue made quite a splash in the press. The federal boys didn't take too kindly to that. Besides, now they have to lick their own stamps. I waited for as long as I could. I started to turn and walk away when out of the shadows came Peekaboo Riley. Riley is a loan shark down at the waterfront. Everyone calls him Peekaboo because he wears a patch over his left eye. He and Wrinkles had a slight misunderstanding, so Wrinkles keeps his left eye in a jar, just for safekeeping, of course. Ballpoint. Just the slug I'm looking for.
I turned and was facing the buttons on Peekaboo Riley's trench coat. Now, Riley is a big hammer, stands about 6'8", and weighs in at about 240. Okay, Riley, you made your entrance. What you got for me? Riley leaned over to me and told me that it was gonna cost me big time. Riley stood in the opening of Pier 40's warehouse. The overhead light flickered on and off, giving Riley shadows and light that just added to the uneasy feeling I got just being near the mug. Riley had this smirk across his face and took a deep breath, along with roughly clearing his throat.
Okay, Ballpoint, here's the deal. You get me time with Rita at Carney's Diner, and I'll tell you where Hubba-Hubba LaRue is. Deal?
I stood there for a moment while I listened and then shook my head back and forth, trying to think about just what happened.
Well,
Okay, Riley, let's see if I got this right. You want me to talk to Rita, the same Rita that slings hash down at Carney's Diner, and just mention your name, right?
keep going.
Oh, I get it. You want me to set something up between you and the hash slinger. Riley, are you sure about this? Now, you know the dame once wrestled gators. You know that, right? And the last mug that tried something with that dame was now a poster boy for quick-dry plaster. I mean, wrappings and everything.
Keep going.
Okay. Let's see what I can do. Now, I'm not promising anything, but let me look into this for you. I wrapped up my business with Riley by asking, this Hubba-Hubba LaRue, the dame's all right, right? Riley turned and walked away.
As safe as if the doll was in my back pocket.
I made my way out of the fog and nearly got slammed by a taxi. I walked around the back, opened the door, and was about to get in when I froze. There behind the wheel was stuttering Stephen. I told Stuttering to take me to Carney's Diner. Then I made the mistake of asking Stepping House things. I caught myself after I asked, settled back in the cab and got ready to listen to 5 words over the next mile and a half. This mug used to call destinations and arrivals at the bus station. I can only imagine how that went. He passed me a paper through his sliding window on the backrest of the front seat. It was a reference form for a job as a dispatcher at the precinct. I thought for a moment about the last job Captain Finn sent my way. Yeah, sure, Stephen. Only too glad to do it. I got dropped off at Carney's Diner and handed Stephen a sawbuck and his reference form. I wished the mug well. I entered Carney's Diner and the crowd was light. I covered a stool at the counter and motioned for a cup of joe. Becky
Carney's Diner came over and placed a cup of Joe down and smiled. Becky is a great kid. I noticed that she had a bit of makeup on. Ruby red lipstick, nail polish. Eyelashes were cute, and her hair done up. She looked at me and asked if I wanted some pie with the Joe. I said no, the Joe was good. As she stood there, I got a faint breeze of perfume. Not like Becky to wear perfume while working on the diner. She asked if I was going by Newbury Street anytime soon. I said maybe. I come and go to a lot of places. Becky got this grin, turned over her shoulder and looked at me and said, if I happen to see Wendell, say hello for me. Wendell is Judge Ricker's boy, and he's coming home from law school today. Sure, Becky, I'd be happy to do that. I quickly thought to myself, poor Wendell. Law school will never prepare him for what he's about to walk into. I motioned Becky back, lowered my voice, and asked if Rita was slinging hash today. Becky turned and walked towards the opening that the servers use to pick up orders from the kitchen. Becky lowered her head and called to Rita. She told Rita that I wanted to talk to her. Rita came over to the server's window and looked at me. She raised an apron string over her head and untied the string across her waist. She came over to me, leaned both knuckles on the counter, and nodded to me with a, "What?" I couldn't help but think to myself, the dame has more hair on her knuckles than a golden retriever. The tattoo on her left forearm said, Gator Headlock Champ. One of her earrings came from the ring grab of the town's merry-go-round. I swallowed hard and mustered everything I could to think of something to tell her. Peekaboo Riley, Rita, is looking, well, you're looking rather strong today. The aroma of hash, sausage, and bagels seems to go with your outfit. A quick glance from Rita, one eyebrow up, one eyebrow down, told me I wasn't doing so hot. Rita, the reason for my being here is because a certain gentleman wanted to introduce himself and was so busy today that he thought that it might be, a nice thing if I was to, the dame reached across the counter and pulled me nose to nose with her. Rita, Peekaboo Riley would like to introduce himself and would like to meet you. The dame pulled back, removed her hairnet, and started to smile. A glow came over the dame, and everyone in the joint came from under the tables and couldn't believe their eyes. She looked at me and asked, why, Aloysius wants to meet me? Yeah, Aloysius. Sure, Rita, sure. The dame walked slowly back to the service window and returned to the grill. I left a couple of bucks on a counter and slowly and quietly made my way towards the two shiny metal doors. I thought I was clear of the place when Rita told me, okay, she'd be in touch. I left Carney's and went back to my office. I passed Vernon's office as he was putting up a new sign on the wall next to his office door. Vernon is a private eye in a different kind of business than me. He's in the divorces in process racket. I notice a wrap of bandages around his head. What's with the bandages, Vernon? He turned with the sign and a thumbtack. The sign folded over and looked a bit wrinkled. Cardboard. I mentioned to Vernon that I know times are tough, Vernon, but cardboard? He said his insurance rate just went up after his last job. Some mug came by, ripped his other sign off, and tattooed his forehead with it. Oh. Well, Vernon, it looks good. Yeah, it looks good, real good. I made it up to my office, and there was a water cooler waiting for me in the front door. What the heck is a water cooler, huh? A sign was taped to the glass bottle on the top. It said, "Go easy on the amber glow. Water is better for your liver." Signed, Kelly. Well, I'll be Kelly. The gal does little things like this now and then. It's no secret that Kelly and I were a number once. But things went south when the little white house with the little white picket fence and the swing set in the backyard entered the conversation. But that's another story. I opened my office door and muscled the water cooler and swung it around next to my desk. A heavy piece of work, if I say so myself. No cups. At the bottom of the note it said, "The paper cups are in the cabinet in the back of the cooler." Oh. Hello, Jimmy Ballpoint, private investigator. Oh, it's you, Riley.
You got something to tell me, Ballpoint?
Yeah. Sure, Riley, sure. The dame said she'd be in touch.
You better be right, Ballpoint, if you know what's good for you.
Okay, Riley. I kept my part of the deal. Now give. I could hear some sort of knocking over the phone. Riley dropped the receiver and then came back and told me it was Rita.
Okay, Ballpoint, a deal is a deal. Go over to the least Atania, tied up at pier number 5. Go up the ramp and turn left. Go into the sea door and down the stairs. She's down there.
Just then, Riley started gasping for air over the phone.
Headlock. Gotta breathe. I gotta breathe.
You take care, Aloysius. I'm sure the two will be very happy together. I went around my desk to get my hat and slicker. It looked like rain outside and the light was fading. Just as I turned the corner of my desk, I knocked over the water cooler. I picked the glass container up, holding the water as best I could. Water was everywhere, and I could see the bubbles coming up through the cracks in my floor. I made it down the stairs and stopped at the office of Vernon. Water was slowly dripping on him, and his desk was wet. He was adjusting the soaked bandages on his forehead. I leaned into his office door and told him that the cold water will help keep the swelling down. There was nothing more I could say on the matter, so I continued down the stairs and into the street. I flagged a taxi down and reached for the back door and froze. There behind the wheel was stuttering Stefan again. I told Stephen to take me to the docks, pier number 5. As Stephen drove off, he started with the same 5 words that he left off with last time. Oh, great. This is just peachy. I got dropped off at pier number 5. The steam freighter was tied up, just like Riley said it would be. I pulled my Roscoe out of its holster and flipped the cylinders around, just checking to make sure I wasn't alone on this one. A full round of shiny new wad cutters, my favorite. I made my way up the ramp. A sign on the left said, "Watch your step." Okay, let's try this again. I made my way up the ramp and past a sign on the right that said, "Told you so." Told me so. Jeez. I entered a watertight door and headed down this metal staircase. I could hear voices of a lot of mugs. I got to the bottom of the metal stairs and onto a landing overlooking the hull of the ship. There was Hubba-Hubba LaRue, dealing 5-card Monte, a stack of chips, a green eye shade, along with hearing her call out, "Place your bets, place your bets." All of a sudden, it gets real quiet. About 100 mugs all turn around at once and draw out some kind of heavy-duty artillery and point it my way. I had to think quick, so I said the first thing that came to my mind. Has anyone seen Aloysius?
Well, folks, that concludes another episode of Jimmy Ballpoint, Private Investigator, brought to you by Sudsy Wudsy, that all-purpose cleaner. Keep your radio dial on this station for next week's Jimmy Ballpoint, Private Investigator. Ear, eye, nose, the complete package.